Hey everybody, I'm not feeling super great, so I'm recording this just in case I end up with a fever or something and I'm not able to have class. So let's hope that everything goes fine and I will see you, but if not, we'll make sure that we're all on the same page. So this last week, we finished up Module 3 on the 27th, and I hope you guys enjoyed that bias activity. We'll probably revisit it and have a class conversation at some point, just because I hope that it was an interesting activity for you. This week you should be turning in the appeals and fallacies writing activity. I hope it makes sense. So what you're going to do is read about appeals and fallacies, and then I want you to find one in action around you. So maybe there's a tweet or a TikTok or something that's making an argument, and I want you to explain how the argument is appealing to ethos, pathos, or logos, or maybe one or more. Now keep in mind that people don't use ethos, pathos, and logos. You appeal to the audience's sense of emotion or logic, or the credibility of the author. So remember when we talked about the shaky kitty, the in the arms of the angel. Okay, so obviously that is an appeal to emotions, right? Your guilt, your sense of wanting to help, because if you don't help the shaky kitty, you're basically like a terrible person, right? So that's what's kind of going on there. So I'm wanting you to find an argument that you can explain how the argument and the author appeals to the audience's sense of ethos, pathos, or logos. And then I want you to find an example of a fallacy, explain what it is, how it functions, and whether or not it's effective. What's interesting is that, you can use a logical fallacy, and depending on the audience, it can be effective, which is kind of scary. And keep in mind that you want to get into chapter 5 and scroll down. If you type in page 123, it doesn't always get you to the right place. So let me show you what I'm talking about, the list here. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe you can screenshot this if you need to. Here we go. This. I don't know why Achieve is so slow. So you just have to scroll down. I know, it's silly. And here we go. Ethical fallacies, emotional fallacies, and logical fallacies. Okay, so there's the list there. But if you type in 123 up here, sometimes it gets you there, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes students struggle with that. So that is what is due Friday night, February 3rd? Yeah, February 3rd. So you have a little writing activity. In order to get to that writing activity, you just click on this. It's kind of just a short thinking exercise. We've got common rhetorical tools that authors use if you get stuck, if you're not super familiar with what rhetorical tools are. And these are the tools that appeal to the audience's sense of ethos, pathos, and logos. Remember, authors don't use ethos, pathos, and logos. They use these tools to create emotion, to create a sense of logic, okay? So you see, tools used to create emotion, tools used to appeal to reason. You don't use reason, like you're like, I'm using reason on you. No, you're doing something that appeals to the sense of reason. I do want to show you one more thing. This is what I used when I was in school, and if you come over here to the flowers of rhetoric, you can see how many different tools and strategies there are. So don't come to me and say, my article doesn't have anything. Yes, it does. Okay, look at all of these. And some of them you're familiar with. Like, remember onomatopoeia from, you know, junior high English class? Yeah, you got this. Now, this, people use all the time. I know my mom uses it, but paralipsis is when you're like, I'm not even going to talk about the time that you did this. So, like, if you're having a fight with someone, you're like, I'm not even going to talk about the time that you, like, stood me up on a date. Like, obviously, you're bringing it up by saying you're not going to talk about it. So these are all different types of rhetorical tools and figures. You know, periodic sentence when the big idea or the big reveal kind of comes at the end. Polyptoton is when it's a type of word play. This one is when you use a lot of conjunctions to create a different type of rhythm. Polysyndeton. So procatalepsis is when you ask and answer a question really quickly. So a lot of, and these are just the P's, right? So if you want to use the Greek rhetorical terms and figures, like, go for it. Like, that would be awesome. But you don't have to. You can stick to the more common list. But if you want to take it to another level, it's super fun. Like, ekphrasis is another word for imagery, but like, you sound super cool, right? And some of these, like, let's see, epitaphs. Example, clearly you know that one, right? This is when you have a repetition of a word with nothing in between. So, epizeuxis. Maybe you know these, but you don't know the Greek or Latin words. So if you really want to take it to the next level, you can use those, but that's obviously not required. But there you go. So you've been looking at all these different tools and figures. And now what I want to go over with you right now is the TEA worksheet. And we have some time to work on this. It's not due till the next week. But I want you to think of analysis as a series of thinking tasks, right? So you're going to identify these different pieces of the argument before you start drafting. So first you need to do some audience awareness. Think about who the audience is and how do you know. Think about what the purpose is. So what I'm asking you to do is construct the rhetorical triangle. What is the rhetorical situation here? Okay, do that first. Then think about the tools that the author uses. And I want you to identify the tool, give the example from the text, and then analyze it. That's all this worksheet does. TEA, tool, example from the text, and analyze the effect on the audience. How does the tool work? So in order to do that, I've given you this list of analysis questions. Sorry, my brain's a little slow right now. So here are the analysis questions. Print these out, sleep with them under your pillow, memorize them, because this is what we're always going to go back to, okay? Whenever I grade, this is what I'm writing. Go back to the analysis questions, okay? What is the rhetorical tool that you want to talk about? Give the example, so that's the T and the E. Now here's the A, is step 3 and 4, and that's where people really fall short, is the analysis. What does this tool make the audience feel, think, or believe, and why does the author want the audience to feel, think, or believe that? How does the tool achieve or fail to achieve the author's purpose? So this is back to the rhetorical situation. It's back to the purpose. It's back to whether or not the author's argument is effective. So I literally just want you to answer those questions in the worksheet. Okay? And to kind of help you work through that, I've given you 2 different examples. So you can see, like, literally what I want you to do, right? So they use deductive reasoning. And this person says the tool of logos is used. You don't use logos, but they're on the right idea. It is deductive reasoning. They're using reasoning. So that's the tool that's used. Here's the example. This makes the audience feel, think, or believe this. And they just talk it out. And they even numbered their steps. So step 1, step 2, or analysis question 1, analysis question 2, analysis question 3, analysis question 4. It's beautiful. The author wants the audience to feel confused so that they have an inner conflict in order to assess their values, which leads them to the overall achieving the overall purpose that the author wanted, okay? So this person did a good job. You can see that maybe they didn't do as strong of a job as identifying the tools, but the analysis is really on point. So that's why I gave you that example. This one, they do a really nice job of identifying rhetorical tools like inclusive language, we and our, and what this is like makes you feel like you're important, and she wants to gain their trust because, and this person doesn't just say she wants to gain their trust. The student then goes on to say why that's important and how that contributes to the overall purpose of the author. They will keep reading. They're more likely to agree with her claims. So take a look at these. This is going to help you. And this is going to be due not the end of this week, but next week. And the more effort you put in to this worksheet and the better, like the higher level of analysis that you do, it's going to make your draft easier to write because you're going to pull straight from this to write your draft. The other thing that we would be doing is the thesis. And it's really easy. There's a thesis template, okay? You don't have to follow it, but I want your main idea, I want your thesis in your paper to have all of these elements, okay? So, kind of plug and chug. It's like algebra, but then I want you to go back and revise it so that it flows, that it makes sense. Like, don't just leave it this way if it doesn't make sense. So you have title of the article in quotation marks. If you didn't know that, article titles go in quotation marks. Or the YouTube video or whatever you're using. The title of the article by, and then you have the author's name, is or is not an effective argument that convinces whoever the audience is to whatever the goal or purpose is, because it uses these tools, 1, 2, 3, to create an overall sense of whatever, all right? So let's go to one of our, and you just plug and chug and then revise it. It's a starting point to help you organize. And we're going to be talking more about organization, and there's actually a sample outline, I think. Yeah, sample outline right there. So I'm going to go to one of our RAs. This one says it has a good intro, so hopefully it has a good thesis. I'm going off on memory here. All right. So this person kind of put all of the information in there, not quite in the same order, but we've got the article title in quotation marks and the author's name. Oh, no, they did do it. All right. Trump, the big bad businessman, produces an ineffective argument that fails to sway the politically aware reader. So there's the title of the article, whether or not it's effective or not, who the audience is. He attempts to appeal to the sense of logic, but he does not cite sources. He attempts to set himself up as an authority, but he does not do this. So the tools are the lack of evidence, the lack of credibility, and the lack of trust. So it's kind of, this one's kind of the opposite effect of why it's ineffective, but those were the tools that they focused on. So he doesn't cite his sources. He uses sources. So the tool is sources, but he doesn't cite them. Okay, does that make sense? So take a look at these samples to help you. But what you should kind of be working on right now is get your TEA worksheet going, get that really strong, and get your thesis going. Get that really strong. So you know which tools you're going to be analyzing in your paper. You know the rhetorical situation of your paper. If you get stuck, as always, reach out to me and ask for help, and we'll get you set right. Hopefully I'll be feeling better soon. Stay healthy, take your vitamin C, take care of yourselves, get lots of rest, and hopefully I'll see you in class, but if not, I'll see you soon.